So there I am, can you believe it? Standing at the edge of my own field, my sanctuary, watching in utter disbelief as Karen's outrageous $220,000 wedding tent sways in the breeze like some gaudy royal pavilion straight out of a fairy tale gone wrong. The music's blaring so loud it's rattling my skull, and there they are, her fancy guests in their ridiculous stilettos, stomping all over my tender soybean sprouts like they own the place. And then, get this, her caterer, some smug guy with a clipboard, has the absolute nerve to saunter over and ask, "Hey, can you move your tractor? It's ruining the aesthetic." Are you kidding me? My tractor? Ruining her aesthetic? That's when I'd had enough. Oh, you bet I had. I took a deep breath, kept my cool barely, and flipped the switch. Boom! The manure spreaders roared to life like a glorious symphony of justice, spewing chaos all over her perfect little scene. Smash to intro screen. How on earth did it come to this insanity? Let's rewind, folks. 3 months back to a simpler time when I still had faith in humanity, when I naively thought people, no matter how HOA obsessed or glued to their scooters, would at least have the decency to ask before stealing power from my house. Picture this. I just moved into my little slice of suburban paradise, my dream come true. A cozy corner lot. A sweet backyard perfect for grilling decent neighbors who minded their own business, and one innocent outlet near the walkway that I used for my Christmas lights and charging my e-bike. Nothing wild, right? Just a simple setup for a simple guy. I'm not exactly Mr. Social Butterfly. I'm more of a keep-to-myself type, but I'd wave at the neighbors, shovel my sidewalk like a good citizen, and even grit my teeth through the HOA's absurd 6-page rulebook. Mailbox colors? Trash can visibility? Seriously, who cares? I tolerated it all until she rolled in. Karen. Oh, Karen. She barreled into my life on 4 squeaky wheels, her scooter's battery juiced up courtesy of guess who, me. And it all started so sneaky, so subtle, I almost didn't catch it. The first time I spotted that scooter parked on the sidewalk next to my hedge, I shrugged it off. No biggie, right? The cord from my outlet was just dangling there, draped into the bushes like some lazy vine creeping along. I figured, maybe someone needed a quick charge and forgot to unplug. It's a neighborhood with kids. After all, maybe a parent's scooter ran out of juice mid-errand. Could happen to anyone. So I unplugged it, coiled the cord neatly, and went about my day. Done and dusted, or so I thought. But the very next day, bam, there it was again. Same scooter, same plug, same audacity. This time, I wasn't letting it slide. I waited, heart pounding a little, okay, maybe a lot, and sure enough, about an hour later, here comes Karen, trundling around the corner like she owns the block. She's clutching a tote bag and this tiny dog that looks like it's powered by AA batteries. Seriously, that thing was so small it could have fit in my pocket. She unplugs her scooter like it's the most natural thing in the world, like she's been doing it forever, and starts rolling away without a care. So I muster up my courage because, let's be real, I'm not exactly confrontational and call out. As casual as I can manage, hey there. Just wondering, did you ask someone before plugging in? She stops dead in her tracks, wheels squeaking, and turns to look at me like I just accused her of kidnapping a toddler. I didn't think I had to, she chirps, her tone so chipper yet dripping with condescension it made my skin crawl. It's just a little juice. That outlet's by the sidewalk. Technically, it's public facing. Public facing? Public facing? I blink, dumbfounded. I'd read the HOA rules twice, and nowhere, not a single word did it say. My outlet was some kind of community free for all. It's my wall, my wiring, my electric bill she's jacking up. But Karen? Oh, she just shrugs, flashes me this polite but not really smile-like. She's daring me to argue and rolls off into the sunset. Can you believe the gall? That should have been it, right? Case closed, lesson learned, end of story. Except it wasn't, because this woman, this absolute legend of entitlement, kept coming back. Every single day, like clockwork, that scooter showed up. Sometimes twice a day. I'd be sitting there, minding my own business, and catch her plugging in while I'm home. And she'd wave at me, all cheerful and smug, like we're best buds splitting the utilities. My electric bill started creeping higher, ouch. That stung, and my breaker tripped not once, but twice. Twice! I couldn't take it anymore. I fired off a message to the HOA, thinking, surely they'll do something about this madness. Their response? Oh, you're gonna love this. If the outlet is not visibly marked private or physically secured, it may be perceived as accessible. Perceived as accessible? No warning for Karen, no fine, no mediation, just a lousy suggestion that I slap a locked cover on it if it bothered me. Bothered me? It was like a punch to the gut. That's when it hit me. I was on my own. Totally and completely on my own. So I got to work. I started logging everything. Every single time that scooter rolled up, I scribbled down the date and time like a detective on a mission. I snapped photos, set up a motion-sensitive camera aimed right at that outlet. My poor introverted soul was screaming. Why me? But the part of me that despises freeloaders. Oh, that part was wide awake, fueled by righteous fury, compiling a petty little file folder of evidence that'd make any lawyer proud. I wasn't ready to go full-on offensive yet, though not until the sprinkler incident pushed me over the edge. Here's the deal. I'd set my sprinklers on a timer, nothing fancy. Just a gentle mist in the early morning and a quick burst in the evening to keep my front lawn from turning into a desert wasteland. Simple, effective, no drama. Then one morning, I step outside, still bleary-eyed with my coffee, and what do I see? My hedge looks like it's been hacked at with a machete. The grass is rutted, the sprinkler head snapped clean off, and surprise, surprise, Karen's scooter's got a fresh mud streak and a leaf stuck in the wheel well. Coincidence? I think not. I confront her, heart racing, and she just brushes it off like it's nothing. Oh, I thought it was dead grass, she says, all breezy. It didn't look like it was doing anything. You should really water more. You know that head's been sticking up dangerously. Dangerously? My eye twitched, I felt it. She was wrecking my property and had the nerve to critique my lawn care. That smile she gave me, the one that screams, I get away with everything, and you're powerless, oh, it lit a fire in me. She wasn't just stealing power now. She was trashing my yard and daring me to make a fuss. That night, I called my buddy Vince, my go-to electrician and the guy I trust to fix anything without turning it into a Home Depot catastrophe. I laid out the whole saga, half expecting him to say, dude, just get a locked box and call it a day. But Vince? Oh, Vince is a legend. He gets this sly little grin in his voice and goes, you want legal or you want poetic? Poetic? My heart skipped a beat. Can I have both? I ask, barely daring to hope. Oh, you bet you can, he says, and I swear I could have hugged him through the phone. So that Saturday, we got to work, me and Vince, a dynamic duo against the forces of Karen. We rerouted the outdoor circuit through a separate breaker, totally legal, mind you, all on my side of the property, no funny business with her scooter or wiring. Vince hooked up a smart plug with usage tracking, a kill switch, and this brilliant little wiring tweak that, get this, made my revenge dreams come true. Whenever Karen plugged in, it'd create a tiny surge that tripped only her circuit if the load got too high. My house? Perfectly fine. Her house? Pitch black. And a cherry on top? Zero visible tampering, nothing she could point to and cry foul about. The trap was set, and oh, was I ready to see it spring. The first time she plugged in after the rewiring, I was a nervous wreck sipping coffee, hands trembling, eyes glued to the live feed from my outlet camera on my phone. Scooter rolls up, plug goes and my heart's pounding, and 10 seconds later, click. My system catches the pull, There's a soft hum in the wall, and then holy smokes. 30 seconds later, her house across the street blinks off like someone yanked the cord on her whole existence. Porch light? Gone. Inside lights? Out. I peek out my window, and there she is, flailing her arms like she's under attack by invisible bats, pure chaos. I nearly spit out my coffee laughing. And then it gets better, way better. Karen storms out, power flickering behind her like a bad horror movie, marches right up to my outlet, and stares at it, like it personally insulted her precious dog. I'm watching her unplug it, plug it back in, stomp her foot. Oh, the tantrum mutters something under her breath, then roll back inside, defeated. 5 minutes later, her power's back on. 10 minutes later, she tries again, because of course she does, and click, boom, out again. And then, because this is Karen we're talking about, she escalates to peak Karen nest she calls the cops. Yes, the actual police. Claims I'm weaponizing my electricity against her, that I've booby-trapped an outlet to spite a senior citizen with mobility needs. Can you even imagine the nerve? The officer shows up, looking like he stepped into a sitcom, poor guy, and I'm ready. I hand him everything, the footage, the logs, the HOA messages, even Vince's certificate of compliance. Karen's over there spinning her tale about how her scooter's disability protected and she can plug in anywhere. She darn well pleases, but the officer, he's not buying it. He raises an eyebrow and asks, "MAAM, do you have permission to use that outlet?" She blinks, and then drops the golden line that seals her fate. Well, it's not like he said I couldn't. Oh, sweet justice. The officer nods slowly. So, no permission, and I swear I could have danced right there. That little sentence, it was like a key turning in a lock. Everything I'd been waiting for clicked into place. Now I had legal grounds not just to stop her, but to file a formal complaint for trespassing and theft of service. And since the HOA had basically thrown me under the bus, I wasn't wasting my breath with them anymore. Oh no, I was taking this straight to the top, to the board president, who was due back from medical leave next week. And get this, rumor had it, she despised Karen with a fiery passion usually reserved for termites and tax season. Perfect timing, right? And wouldn't you know it, Karen had a massive event lined up that weekend. Tents, music, a swarm of guests, the whole shebang. That's when the real fun kicked off. I'll be honest, watching her power cut out the instant she plugged into my outlet, pure bliss. That look of utter confusion as her lights blinked off like someone unplugged her entire ego, a masterpiece. But oh, that was just the warm-up. The real revenge was still brewing, and I couldn't wait to see it unfold. Because here's the thing with Karen, when she's embarrassed, she doesn't back down or say, sorry, oh no, she doubles down. The next morning, I'm jolted awake by this polite little knock on my door, not the angry kind, but that fake, syrupy, sweet kind only Karen could master while secretly seething. I open the door, and there she is, little dog tucked under her arm, sunglasses perched on her head like she's about to scold a barista at Starbucks. She dives right in, voice all sugary and tight. Hi there! I just wanted to ask if something's wrong with your outlet. My scooter seems to be shorting out when I plug it in. Shorting out? Oh, honey, you have no idea. I just smile calm as can be and say, oh yeah, could be. I had some work done on it recently. Might be a bit more sensitive now. She tilts her head, eyeing me like I'm hiding something. Right. Well, it worked fine before. Did it? I shoot back, pretending to ponder it. Funny, my power bills didn't agree. That hit a nerve. Her jaw twitched just a tiny bit before she adjusted those sunglasses and nodded. I'll bring it up with the HOA, she says. All prim and proper. Please do, I reply, barely hiding my glee. I've got documentation ready. And oh, did I ever. I had it all, full logs of every charge, every power spike, time-stamped footage that make a courtroom weep. Vince even crunched the numbers from the smart plug, comparing baseline current to the peak drain when her scooter sucked my juice dry. It wasn't just petty, it was ironclad, admissible evidence. And good thing too, because she half followed through on her threat. Later that week, I get this HOA notice, not a violation, but a formal request to attend a discussion meeting about accessibility concerns raised by a neighbor. Accessibility concerns? I could read between the lines Karen was pulling the disability card again, and I was ready to call her bluff. She wanted to paint me as the bad guy, making her life harder by restricting access to community resources, aka my private outlet. But she'd miscalculated big time. She thought the HOA was still her playground, but guess what? The real president, Ellen, was back in town, and Ellen didn't mess around. I showed up to that meeting loaded for bear, every shred of proof tucked under my arm. Karen's already there, perched in a folding chair, playing the victim like she's auditioning for a Lifetime movie. She sees me and slaps on that creepy Stepford smile. Ugh, it gave me chills. Ellen, though, she doesn't even glance at her, just motions for me to sit and says, "Let's make this quick." Karen launches into her spiel, rehearsed, dramatic, a total sob story. She's yammering about mobility challenges, limited outlets, how the community should cater to senior residents like Her Royal Highness. She never once admits she didn't have permission, just keeps hinting my outlet's basically public property, and I'm targeting her on purpose. And then, wait for it, she pulls out a letter from her chiropractor claiming, get this, power outages are messing with her spinal alignment. Spinal alignment? I nearly choked, holding back a laugh. My turn comes, and I keep it cool, no yelling, no finger pointing. I just slide over a thumb drive with all the footage, logs, and Vince's electrician report. Then I say, this isn't about mobility, it's about boundaries. She's been using my electricity without permission for over 2 months. She trashed my sprinkler system. The HOA did nothing, so I took legal steps on my own property. And now she's facing the consequences. Ellen barely speaks, just nods as she reviews the footage, then turns to Karen and drops the hammer. You never had permission to use his outlet. Karen's mouth flops open, then shut, and she stammers, I assumed. That's no. Ellen cuts her off, and bam, meeting over. Oh, the sweet taste of victory. Oh, you should have seen it. Karen huffing out of that meeting, muttering under her breath about discrimination like she'd just been wronged by the universe itself. I could barely hold back a smirk as she stormed off, her pride wounded, but her spirit, oh, far from broken. Ellen, cool as a cucumber, just turned to me and said, if she tries it again, let me know, we'll slap her with a formal violation. Can you imagine the relief washing over me? I really truly thought that might be the end of it. Finally, peace. But Karen? Oh no. Karen being Karen, she wasn't about to slink away quietly into the night. If she couldn't leech power from me on the down low, she'd make a grand, loud spectacle of it instead. Because why settle for subtle when you can go full-blown outrageous? And then bam! The wedding tent happened. I came home one afternoon, exhausted from a long day, dreaming of kicking back with a cold drink, only to find what the heck? This massive, blindingly white tent sprawled across the back half of my field. Not my front yard, not the sidewalk, but the literal back edge of my property, where I'd been lovingly tending my soybean sprouts as a little side hobby. My heart sank, my poor soybeans. Apparently, Karen's niece, or maybe her goddaughter who knows with her, was throwing some fancy, rustic, chic country wedding, and Karen, in all her infinite wisdom, had told the event company she had access to the perfect open space. My space. My land. Never mind that she didn't even bother to ask me. Oh no, that'd be too courteous. Never mind that she'd hammered a dozen metal stakes into my soil and dragged folding chairs through my precious crops like it was nothing. And then get this, the cherry on top of this absurd cake. Her caterer, some slick guy in a polo shirt, strolls over and has the gall to ask, "Hey, can you move your parked tractor? It's clashing with the aesthetic." Clashing with the aesthetic? My tractor? I nearly lost it right there. But did I yell? Did I scream? No way. I kept my cool barely and just smiled, nodded, and excused myself to the shed. Because if Karen thought tripping her power was the rudest thing I could do, oh honey, she hadn't seen anything yet. She clearly hadn't experienced the full, glorious might of my old John Deere teamed up with 2 manure spreaders and a perfectly timed ignition. I was practically giddy as I hatched my plan revenge. Sweet and stinky was on its way. The next morning, just as that string quartet started tuning up, oh, how fancy I flipped the switch. Boom! Both spreaders roared to life, hosing down the edges of the field with a vengeance. Karen came storming over, can you picture it? In a dazzling sequin dress, shrieking about permits and sanitation and how I was ruining everything. Ruining everything? Oh, the irony. I just stood there, calm as ever, pointed to the property line and said, "That line? That's mine. That half with the cow crap? Also mine. Take that, Karen." By sundown, the tent was gone poof, dismantled and hauled away in defeat. The wedding got shuffled off to a nearby park. And Karen? Oh, she wasn't done yet. She tried to file a harassment claim. Can you believe the nerve? But it went nowhere, because Ellen shut her down hard, saying, "You trespassed, Karen. You're lucky he didn't press charges." Lucky? I'd say she was downright blessed I didn't take it further. You'd think that'd be the end of it, right? That maybe, just maybe, she'd finally learn her lesson and slink away with her tail between her legs. Ha! Fat chance. This is Karen we're talking about. She doubled down, because of course she did. She started pestering neighbors for rides, whining that her scooter was on the Fritz boo-hoo, and spreading wild rumors that I was sabotaging her. Sabotaging her? Oh, please. Then, in a move so bold it almost made me laugh, she slapped a bright pink sign next to my outlet that read, "Property of Karen, do not tamper." Property of Karen? My outlet? I was floored. And then, one night, oh, this was rich, she tried plugging in again. I was glued to the live feed, heart racing, watching it all unfold. She'd waited until late, well after dark, probably thinking, he's asleep, he won't catch me. The scooter rolled up, she hopped off, crouched down all sneaky like, and plugged it in. My breath caught the moment that cord connected. A quiet hum buzzed through the wall. I watched the smart plug spike, and then boom, her porch light flickered once, and the entire front of her house plunged into darkness. Oh, the satisfaction. But here's the kicker this time. The power didn't come back. Not after 10 seconds, not after 5 minutes, not even after an hour. I was on the edge of my seat, had I finally done it? Karen stumbled out with a flashlight, looking like she'd just seen a ghost, pale, frantic, totally lost. And then, from across the street, another neighbor hollered, "Hey, Karen, you knocked out your garage again." I nearly fell over laughing. She didn't answer, just stood there, stunned. But I knew, oh, I knew, my little wiring tweak had finally pushed her janky, overworked system past the breaking point. And the best part? She had no clue what was coming next, none at all. The next morning? Oh, it started with a bang, a literal bang. A loud pop echoed from across the street, followed by this sharp fizzing sound and the faintest wisp of smoke curling up from Karen's garage. I was sipping coffee on my porch, because where else would I be when petty justice is unfolding? And I didn't even flinch. She came stumbling out of her house in pure chaos bathrobe, half-tied, curlers bouncing like they were trying to escape, and that little dog yapping like it was personally invested in her meltdown. She squinted up at the side of her garage, pointing and muttering like the building had stabbed her in the back. Can you imagine the scene? I was living for it. Turns out, that last plug-in session had fried her external breaker, not enough to burn the place down, thank goodness, but just enough to knock out her garage, her porch light, and most of her front-facing electrical. Her security cameras? Dead. Her motion lights? Gone. Her garage door? Stuck half open like a mechanical yawn, mocking her. I could see her pacing her lawn, phone in hand, arguing with someone, probably an electrician. Poor soul. When the van finally rolled up and the guy poked around for 10 minutes, he just stood there with this look I knew all too well. It was the same one my buddy Vince had when he first saw Karen's tangled mess of cords and cheap extenders, pure disbelief mixed with a dash of insult. He left her with a bill and no power on the front half of her house, ouch. That's gotta sting. Word spread like wildfire. Within the hour, 2 neighbors hit me up, one with a laughing emoji, bless them. The other asking, did you finally snap and take her grid out for good? I didn't confirm or deny, I just posted a smug little pic of my peacefully glowing porch light with the caption fully charged. Oh, the shade. That night, the HOA group chat blew up, exploded, because Karen had launched her own little smear campaign. She posted this dramatic, over-the-top paragraph claiming she was being systematically targeted by a neighbor using electrical warfare. Electrical warfare? Are you kidding me? She threw in blurry screenshots that looked like they were snapped with a toaster, called it a conspiracy to boot out mobility-challenged residents, and tossed around words like harassment and ageism like confetti at a parade. Of course, she demanded the HOA board take immediate action against this hostile sabotage. Oh, Karen, you never disappoint. But here's the twist she didn't see coming. Her reign of terror was toast. Ellen, the real HOA president, was now in the know. And Ellen? She wasn't just on my side, she was ready to make Karen a cautionary tale. Within a day, bam, a notice went out to every resident about a mandatory board meeting to tackle recent events involving property violations, power misuse, and false claims of public utility ownership. The words were polite, but the vibe? Oh, it was war. Karen strutted into that meeting like she was marching into battle binder under her arm. A neck brace around her throat, yes. A neck brace, where'd that come from? And a dramatic limp I'd never seen before. I almost admired her dedication, almost. Ellen didn't waste a second, diving right in. We've got multiple complaints about unauthorized use of private property, damage to landscaping, and repeated trespassing. Plus, we've got documentation surveillance footage, electrical logs, professional assessments. Karen, care to respond before we dig in? Karen stood up, cleared her throat like she was about to deliver the Gettysburg Address, and unleashed what I can only call the suburban monologue of the year. She claimed she'd been relying on the goodwill of neighbors to keep her mobility intact goodwill, and that I'd set up a malicious trap to cripple her home. She waved around a chiropractor's letter, probably whipped up on Google Docs. Let's be real, saying power outages were an orchestrated campaign of intimidation. Intimidation? She accused me of planting manure on her lawn, lady. That was your wedding, and even claimed I was hiding a generator in my hedges to fake power issues. A generator in my hedges? I was speechless. I just sat there, cool as ice, not blinking, and handed Ellen a USB drive, my ace in the hole. Ellen plugged it in, and up popped the evidence, clip after clip of Karen plugging into my outlet. Smart plug logs with timestamp surges, footage of her scooter rolling off like nothing happened, pics of my mangled sprinkler head, and Vince's detailed breakdown of how her greed tripped her circuits while mine stayed golden. It was a cold, hard smackdown of facts. When the last clip faded, the room went dead silent, pin drop quiet. Ellen turned to Karen, and for a split second, I thought she might go soft. Then, bam! She laid it out, calm but lethal. You used another resident's property without permission repeatedly. You caused damage. You escalated into slander, and you pretended to be a board authority while I was on leave. This isn't a disability issue, it's a boundary issue, and you've crossed everyone. Oh, snap! Karen sputtered, fumbling for her binder like it held some magical comeback, but Ellen shut it down with one hand. Enough. And that was it. Verdict dropped before the next coffee break. Karen had to pay restitution for the electricity, not just to me, but to two other neighbors who'd come forward with their own tales of her outlet theft. She was banned from touching any exterior outlet not hers, kicked off the board for good, and oh, the poetry. The HOA passed a new bylaw. All outdoor outlets must be marked and locked. And unauthorized use? Straight up trespassing. Take that, Karen. She didn't say a word after that, just sat there like someone had ripped the charger out of her soul. I watched her wheel her scooter away by hand, feet scraping the asphalt like a kid on a tricycle. Pathetic. That neck brace? Off before she hit her driveway. Shocker. By the time it all sank in, the neighborhood had turned no more polite nods, no more bless her heart pity. Even the sweet old couple across the street who used to bake her cookies started yanking their porch plug inside every night. For a while, I hoped that was the end. Sweet, clean closure. But then the whispers started. Karen wasn't going quietly. She was plotting something. One last desperate grab for her imaginary crown. And oh, did she deliver in the most Karen way possible. She installed her own outlet, a bright pink, weather-beaten extension cord dangling from her garage window, duct-taped to a fence post, paired with a cheap solar panel the size of a lunch tray. It looked like a middle school science project gone wrong. Her scooter was plugged in the next day, basking in what she must have thought was her triumphant independence, except that panel couldn't power a light bulb. The scooter stayed dead, and by sundown the cord shorted out with a pop that sent her dog splashing into the neighbor's koi pond. I stood on my porch, watching it all. Karen yelling at her dog, the neighbor yelling at Karen, that sad solar panel swinging like a deflated balloon, and for one glorious moment, I felt peace. Real peace, like I hadn't since I moved in. But deep down, oh, I knew she wasn't done yet. People like Karen don't quit. They regroup. And the next chapter? Buckle up, she tried to play the victim again. Not just to us, but to the whole dang internet. It started with a TikTok, can you believe it? I didn't even find it. My cousin pinged me at midnight with a laughing emoji. And is this your scooter witch? I clicked, and there she was, Karen, perched dramatically in her half-lit garage, neck brace back on, staring into her phone camera like she was filming a hostage video. She called herself a disabled senior, a survivor of suburban abuse, and a victim of an intentional energy blockade by ableist neighbors and corrupt HOA leadership. Energy blockade? I was floored, laughing, crying, shaking my head all at once. The saga was far from over, and Karen, she was just getting started. I stood there, jaw dropped, heart pounding, can you even believe it? Watching in stunned silence as Karen spun this wild, completely fictional tale right out of thin air. She claimed I'd rigged some diabolical power-trapping device that fried her precious medical mobility equipment. Medical mobility equipment? Oh, please. And that the HOA was in on it, like some shadowy cabal, leaving her powerless for weeks as punishment for standing up for inclusivity. Inclusivity? I nearly choked on my own disbelief. The comments on her TikTok? Oh, they were exactly what you'd expect, pure chaos. Some gullible keyboard warrior swallowed it hook, line, and sinker, apparently convinced that every gray-haired lady over 60 with a dog and a sob story must be a saint. But most folks, thank goodness, they saw right through her nonsense in a heartbeat. Bam, busted. A few local heroes even jumped in, recognizing our little neighborhood and tearing her story apart in real time. How satisfying was that? One user fired off, "Girl, you drove that scooter onto my lawn last year and smashed my flamingo. Sit down." Oh, I could have hugged them. Another sleuth dug up her property records and dropped the mic. You own 3 vehicles and a hot tub. Stop pretending you live off batteries. 3 vehicles and a hot tub? I laughed so hard I nearly cried, tears streaming down my face because it was just too perfect. But deep down, oh deep down, I knew this wasn't just another Karen tantrum. No way. This was her desperate, last-ditch effort to flip the script, to claw back her twisted version of the narrative and make herself the martyr she so desperately wanted to be. And, wouldn't you know it, it started picking up steam beyond our quiet streets. Local news outlets eat up juicy drama like this. Don't they always? And all it took was one catchy headline: elderly woman claims neighbors cut her power in HOA dispute. It's the kind of clickbait people gobble up between weather updates and tacky car dealership ads. Sure enough, some low-rent local channel snatched it up faster than you can say ratings. They didn't bother interviewing her or swinging by the neighborhood. Nope. Too much effort. Just slapped together clips from her ridiculous video with generic shots of power lines and street signs, threw in some sappy royalty-free music, and called it a day. Aired it as weekend filler, no names, no addresses, but everyone around here. Oh, we knew exactly who it was about. My stomach churned just thinking about it. I figured it'd fizzle out on its own right. People would lose interest, scroll past, and Karen would finally run out of gas. Wishful thinking. She wasn't done, not by a long shot, and escalated again, this time dragging in a so-called journalist to her property for a follow-up. Journalist? Ha! Picture this. A guy with a YouTube channel, a scruffy neckbeard, and a drone license, hardly Pulitzer material. I spotted them on a Saturday afternoon, setting up in her front yard like it was a Hollywood shoot. Karen had a lawn chair plopped down, her scooter parked beside her like some loyal steed. Oh, how noble. And that tiny dog of hers decked out in a vest, screaming emotional support assistant in Comic Sans. Comic Sans? I couldn't make this up if I tried. Did that guy ask a single real question? Nope. He just nodded along, making these fake concerned noises, while buzzing his drone over her half-working garage and that pitiful pink extension cord. She kept pointing at my house over and over, never saying my name, but tossing out gems like the aggressor, the energy tyrant, and my personal favorite, the porch-dwelling hacker. Porch-dwelling hacker? What am I, some tech villain in a bad movie? I could have ignored it, let her spiral into her own madness, but I was done. Done with the lies, the theatrics, the nonstop entitlement that oozed from her every move. My patience, gone poof. So I fired back, not with a fancy video. Oh no, just a simple screenshot. My power bill before and after her outlet thievery, paired with a caption that hit like a sledgehammer. She says she couldn't afford her own power. She stole mine every day. Here's proof. Boom. It went mildly viral, not millions, but enough to stir the pot. Enough for folks to flood her comments with questions, yes. Enough for the original poster to quietly delete his story in shame, and enough for that drone-toting YouTuber to slap a pinned comment. It's come to my attention. There are conflicting details. I encourage everyone to do their own research. Translation? I screwed up, and I'm tiptoeing away. Oh, the sweet taste of vindication. That should have been it, the final nail in her coffin. But Karen, she had one more trick up her sleeve. She filed a legit complaint with the city. Can you believe the audacity? Claiming I'd installed unlicensed electrical traps to cause outages and sabotage elderly residents. Sabotage? It sparked a formal inspection, and soon enough, a city code enforcement officer showed up at my door, clipboard in hand, asking to see my modifications. My heart raced, but I kept cool, walked him around, explained every detail, showed him permits, receipts, even had Vince whip up a statement swearing the work was legal and up to code. The officer? Bless him, he looked annoyed just being there. She said you rigged it to explode, he muttered, flipping through his checklist like he'd rather be anywhere else. Explode? I shot back, incredulous. If I had, don't you think her house would be a crater by now? He chuckled, actually chuckled. checked the last box, and said, "You're fine, consider this closed." Closed? Oh, hallelujah, finally some sanity. And that, thank the stars, was the real end. Karen didn't just lose the neighborhood, she lost the city's patience too. After that bogus report, she got an official warning letter straight from the city for filing a frivolous complaint. One more, they warned, and she'd be staring down a fine the HOA piled on to, barring her from dragging outside agencies into neighbor disputes without internal evidence. First, basically, keep your drama in the fence, Karen. Oh, how the mighty had fallen. She tried playing victim a few more times, pathetic little whimpers, but her audience was gone. Her 15 minutes of fame? Poof over. And the internet had moved on to shinier things. Probably cat videos. Her TikTok vanished quietly. Her YouTube sob story stalled at 700 views with a flood of downvotes, ouch. And she started slinking around, walking her dog at night instead of day. That scooter? Gone, vanished into thin air. Good riddance, I say. I'd love to claim I walked away with some grand moral lesson that I became a wiser, more forgiving soul. But nope, truth is, I didn't. What I learned. Some people will snatch every inch you offer and then demand a mile, screaming you owe it to them. That peace in suburbia sometimes means a little war first. That cameras, documentation, and a smart plug can outshine 1,000 shouting matches. And most of all, standing your ground doesn't always mean a showdown. Sometimes it's just flipping the right switch at the perfect moment and letting the circuits and consequences sing. Weeks later, with the dust settled, I threw a cookout, nothing big. Just burgers, tunes, and a few neighbors I'd barely chatted with before. Turns out surviving a Karen together bonds a community like nothing else. Who knew? They swung by, eager for the outlet saga scoop, swapping their own petty Karen tales. One guy said she blamed his Christmas lights for her migraines. Another swore she reported his bird feeder for being too enthusiastic. Too enthusiastic. We laughed till our sides hurt, grilled until the stars came out, and as the sun dipped low, I glanced across the street. Karen's house was dark, not creepy, just quiet, the way I'd always dreamed. No cords snaking across my property, no scooter buzzing at my lawn's edge, just the soft, steady glow of my porch light, unshaken and serene. And that, my friends, is why I lock my outlet tight and keep the receipt close always.